Books are always better than the movies is something that people tend to say a lot, and that's perfectly fine if that's your opinion, but I'm here to tell you that you're wrong. You're wrong. You're just wrong. There are so many movies that are better than books. I can go on and on and on, and I'm gonna share a list of ones that I prefer today because I love movies. Movies are just fantastic, and I love movies probably just as much as I love books, but I think we have to admit that some movies just bring to life books so much better than the book did. And that's just my opinion. First off, Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park, I will say, is a very entertaining book. It's very page-turning, but the writing is very meh, and the characters not that likable. And ultimately, it is a little bit forgettable. There's only so much you can imagine while reading that book. But then the movie, you guys, seeing dinosaurs on a screen takes it to a whole nother level. It is dinosaurs in front of you. Soundtrack is amazing. Will forever be one of the greatest soundtracks ever. The characters brought to life are so wonderful. You love all of the characters. They're just so well crafted and amazing, and Steven Spielberg as a director, what he did with this film when they first saw the dinosaur up eating the leaves, that's a scene that you're never gonna forget. Seeing that dinosaur eating the leaves, them looking up, just being in awe of that dinosaur, you feel like you're there with them, and it's just such a greater take on the story. The movie is better. Next, Jaws. Jaws is so much better than the book. Jaws as a book is fine. It's a little boring. It's not very entertaining. It's more a book about infidelity than anything, and it doesn't age well. And you could say the same thing about Jaws the movie itself, but Jaws as a movie, again, you're bringing to life the shark. Seeing the shark is just on a whole other level. Again, a great soundtrack that is so memorable, and it's just one of those movies that if you were probably growing up when this movie first released, it probably terrified you as a kid. You'll probably never forget it. It's just so great, and I don't think that the book holds anything to the movie. It's just the movie's so much better. American Psycho. American Psycho is one of those books that's so weird and strange and tedious, and I still don't know what I think about the book as a whole. I'm glad I read it, but I will never read it again. But the movie takes all of those strange, weird things and brings it to life in such a more entertaining fashion. I don't know. That movie has Christian Bale, and it's just directed so well, and it's so entertaining and strange, and the way that it takes all of the good from the book and brings it to life, I just love it so much more. It's such a better movie, and the book is just it's kind of forgettable. I'm not that big of a fan anymore. Silence of the Lambs. Now, Silence of the Lambs is a really great book. I will say that it's very entertaining. It's written so well. I love Thomas Harris as a writer, what he was able to do with the story. But Silence of the Lambs as a movie is just a masterpiece. It's a cinematic masterpiece. It has Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter. We wouldn't know Hannibal Lecter if it wasn't for Anthony Hopkins. And for that, it's better than the book. The Devil Wears Prada. The Devil Wears Prada as a book is very annoying. That's all I can really say to sum it up. The Devil Wears Prada is just such an annoying book that doesn't really stay with you. It's written just whatever. The characters are whatever. The movie, I don't know what it is about this movie. It was able to take the little great things from this book and bring it to life in such a way. The actors, the entertaining, witty style of this movie is just so good. This is such an entertaining film, and I think it's so much better, loads better, 1,000 times better than the book. Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump is one of those books that I was so excited to read because I love Forrest Gump as a film, so when I read it, I was so excited and I was so disappointed. The book is so boring and forgettable, and it doesn't stay with you. The movie is such a masterpiece. I keep saying these films are masterpieces, but this movie is so good, and Tom Hanks is such a great actor, how he brings Forrest to life, and it's just shot so well. It's so beautiful. It's just one of those films that I can rewatch again and again, but I would never ever read the book again. Will never. Stardust by Neil Gaiman. I'm not a big Neil Gaiman fan. I'm just gonna say it, not a huge Neil Gaiman fan. Nothing has ever wowed me. And Stardust is fine. Stardust was okay. Stardust the movie is just so much more magical and entertaining and fun. And it's fun to watch. It's fun to rewatch. It's fun to see these characters go on this journey. But when you read the book, it's not fun. It's not fun to read them go on this journey. It's kind of boring, and every time I set the book down, I did not want to pick it back up again, but the movie is such a great time. So for that reason, Stardust, the movie, is so much better than the book. Next would be, don't be mad, but The Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings, I will say, are incredible books. I love them. I had such a great experience reading the books for the first time. It was so wonderful to read about these characters and to see them go on this journey. But the movies have and forever will be so much more magical to me. They'll always be so much more heartwarming and charming and beautiful. They're just beautifully shot movies that I love, and the soundtrack is gorgeous. And for that reason, I will always prefer the films to the books, but I will say that the books are absolutely wonderful and I love them. But again, I just prefer the movie. I think it's so much better. And the last one that I want to talk about is Harry Potter. Harry Potter. Yes, the books are great. I love them. They're a part of my childhood. I will forever go back to probably reread them because I haven't read them in a really long time. But you guys, if it came between the two, the movie and the book, I will always rewatch the movies because they're just, seeing them on a movie screen is just so much more magical and just comforting, and the characters brought to life is just out of this world. And seeing Hogwarts, just visually seeing Hogwarts, is such a different experience that I get versus reading the books. And I think that the movies are just so good. They're just so good. Yes, they're not perfectly adapted, but they're just done so well. Me personally, I prefer the movies to the books, but I will always adore the books. I'm not gonna say they're bad because they're not. They're great. But those are just some of the movies that I prefer to the books, and I would love to know your opinions down below. What is your take on this? Do you think that books are always better than the movies? Do you prefer the movies, or do you think there's a middle ground? Because I feel like I'm in the middle ground. There are definitely a lot of books that I think are better than the movies. There are books that I think should never get adapted because it just doesn't work for the screen. But yeah, that's all I really have to say today. Leave a comment, chat with me below, and I hope you have a great week. I hope you're doing well, and I will see you again soon. Bye!